It's 2020, yet he comes to reconcile us one to another. It may be that in this 2020 Advent season, as we approach Christmas Day, it may be that Jesus Christ is calling us to gain the attention of people near and far from us in our lives to the love and the life and the redemption found in Jesus, in knowing him, and to share that in ways that people can see it, first of all, in us, in ways that perhaps in other times we've not been so great at embodying that love and that grace and that awareness that we are made new in Jesus. Now, the good news is that even with the shakiness of our witness, and even with the sometimes awkwardness of how our values mesh with the biblical values, the New Testament values, the reign of God vision, in spite of that incongruity, in spite of the volatility of the times, there is good news. For effectively, our being in the management role has been removed from us. That role which we oftentimes kind of take upon ourselves, we aren't the directors of this divine enterprise. And it offers to redeem us to a much healthier role, and that is of a servant. Another theme in the Gospels that's announced with alarming consistency. If we could begin to make that simple adjustment, to move from being the managers of this whole gospel enterprise to being the servants, God might even be able to work with us in spite of us. And that would be a Christmas really worth having, to have God work with us rather than despite or in spite of us. Every week or so, I'll read journals from different places in the world. The BBC or Der Spiegel, Le Monde, from different European or different presses in the world. And it seems like journalists are just fascinated and even anxious over what some describe as, here in the U.S., when journalists come here to do their reporting, of this brother against brother phenomena in our land. Even within extended families, nuclear families. You know, this is not just something people on the outside are paying attention and scratching their heads over about us. This divide, we feel it too. Is this enmity, this divide, irreconcilable? What could restore the civility and perhaps the confidence in those who look always with hope about us, onlookers across the oceans, you know that America is America, a people whose overriding ethos is overcoming obstacles, sowing a better way of life, manifesting, turmoil underneath to be sure, but overall, and admirably and reliably, a steady resolve to stay the course. To stay the course to create opportunity, breakthroughs, and advancements. Will a different newly elected leader change things? Will there be movements that spring up far away from maybe the centers of power in neighborhoods, in communities, where currently there is rupture and disharmony, and institutions under siege, all with slogans, 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 slogans. Well, they can watch and report. Meanwhile, we can join together and ask God that an uncommon reconciliation, uncommon perhaps to our reading of the news and the day around us, a reconciliation, a better listening to one another, and a robust, even a loud and messy kind of peace, because we're going to be listening to our brothers and sisters. Is God too small to hear that prayer that we lift up? Why don't we join together and offer that prayer and pray that our efforts, our engagements really will be to feed the hungry and to reconcile brother to brother, sister to sister, and lift up the falling and help the despairing. It would be a noble Advent, wouldn't it? Every year when Advent comes, to watch the almighty, all-powerful, and eternal Creator God, and watch the way that God works in the world through a baby. Every year, there's another chance to see what the nature of God is like and to hear this incredible good news, held against the data perhaps, that God is our Father. He is our source. That is where life comes from. He is at the center of our being, of our togetherness. The reign of God is here. Governance by God, your life, my life, governed by God, informed by God, that's immediately available. We don't have to imagine that this will come. Yes, this will come at the end of the ages. You don't have to go looking far off or in places that are strange and foreign to you. No, right here, right now, in the midst of you, in the midst of your heart, nothing could be closer, more accessible than the truth that God is source and that the reign of God right now, right here, is in the midst of you. So, relax, be confident, feel secure, and rejoice. Let's take a moment. When this message concludes, just take a pause, take a moment, and just relax. Be confident. Feel secure and rejoice as we sit in God's own presence, that the reign of God is right here and right now, in the midst of all of us, or the way the Scripture says it, the King of Israel is in your